Today, I thought it would be fun to talk about the man that inspired me to make videos. A man that you've likely never heard of. A man that went by the name of BigAl2K6. Alan Reddick, better known as BigAl2K6, started making rants on YouTube in 2006. At the time, YouTube was a relatively new platform that allowed everyday normal people to express their creativity and talent in a number of ways. After all, the site's slogan used to be, "Broadcast yourself." It was a blank canvas where you could throw anything and everything against the wall to see what stuck. And even in those early days, one of the things that seemed to consistently work were rants. Big Al became notorious for his rants on various topics like Naruto, Jesus Camp, soccer moms, video game violence, and Jack Thompson, to name a few. He became well known for his brash and brutally honest opinions on various topics. This is beautifully emphasized in his Naruto rant.
Gone too far? Okay, hold on, wait a second here. I posted videos making fun of immigration, making fun of racism. I said the Passion of the Christ was a snuff film that was only famous for its blood and gore. I compared a Christian youth camp to the Hitler youth camp, and I said that Andrew Myers stupid fuck was a moron and deserved to get tased. But that's perfectly fine. But as soon as I make a video killing off a fictional character, I cross the line? Give me a fucking break! I mean, Jesus Christ, people! Naruto is a fictional character. He's a fictional character living in a fictional world with all of his fictional buddies doing fictional things that can never be done in real life. He's a cartoon character. No, he's an anime character. Who fucking cares?
Al managed to gain a pretty solid following from these rants, and before anyone knew it, he became one of the biggest names in the ranting community. But as we all know, the internet is a cutthroat place where everybody is pretty much out for themselves, and the people you thought were your friends can turn on you in the blink of an eye. One of Big Al's earliest inspirations was a man by the name of Garanchev. For those of you who don't know, Garanchev started out on the infamous internet image board 4chan before migrating over to YouTube, where he became popular for his rants, which were more calm and intellectual than the typical emotion and personality-driven approach which had become the norm. But over time, his channel went through a major shift in direction. His videos became endless stories about the various sexual fantasies that he had, rather than the rants everyone had grown accustomed to and loved. This alienated the vast majority of his audience, including Big Al. Garanchev didn't take too kindly to this and made a 40-minute long video exposing Big Al for being a stalker, a backstabber, and a subscription whore, among many other things. Big Al didn't take the accusations lying down and made a 3-part video called My Side of the Story, where he disputed all of the claims that Garanchev had made against him, and it surprisingly worked as he actually benefited from the feud. Most people thought that what Garanchev was doing was incredibly manipulative. He took old clips of Big Al and took them completely out of context, twisting his words around to paint him in the most unflattering light possible. Basically, he tried to destroy his career, but it backfired as Big Al's popularity only continued to increase while Garanchev slowly faded into irrelevancy. All seemed right in the land of Big Al until his run as the master of rants came to a sudden and unexpected end. On February 4th, 2009, Big Al's original channel was terminated by YouTube due to copyright. He quickly created a second channel called Big Al Rant Master, which didn't last too long before being terminated. He then created a third channel called Big Al Forever 2K6, where he continued making rants, vlogs, and whatever else he felt like making, but in the end, the channel met the same fate as the other two, as it was suspended in 2010. However, it was strangely reinstated many years later, where it continues to remain completely abandoned. He then moved to rival video sharing site Blip TV under the name BigAl Updates, leaving the YouTube page open as a hub for updates. But after Blip was shut down by its parent company, Maker Studios, in 2015, Big Al returned to YouTube, where he remains to this day, albeit with a fraction of the audience and viewership he used to have. Big Al was a remnant of the golden days of YouTube. He was a guy that not only made videos for fun, he also made them to express an opinion. He broadcasted himself and was never afraid to express his opinion, which is something I admire in a YouTuber. And while he's irrelevant today, the impact he made on the ranting community cannot be understated. Not bad for a man who ranted about things that annoyed him. Big Al made such an impact on me personally, it's not even funny. When I discovered him back in 2007 or so, I was this naive, innocent 13-year-old Christian boy. And, you know, when you're a kid, you're easily impressed by a lot of things. But I tell you, Big Al was the real deal. And when I watched his videos, I was literally blown away. I was like, oh my god. You can make videos talking about anything you want and people will watch them? Wow, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. That's a viable hobby that I could actually pursue. And I've said this a few other times, but Big Al was one of my earliest inspirations alongside rmake21, Darkness the Curse, and the AVGN. Those of you who are OGs on YouTube know what I'm talking about. I liked how he presented himself. I liked that he was always brutally honest, and he always delivered his opinions in a way that made sense. So even if you didn't agree with him, you could understand where he was coming from, and just how insane and crazy he would get with some of the subjects that he was talking about, like in his Jesus Camp rant and his Naruto rant. Seriously, if you haven't seen his Naruto rant, please go and look up that rant. It is hilarious. It is so funny. Even if you're a fan of Naruto, I think you'll really get a kick out of it. So, you know, back then I was just like, wow, this is insane. And the fact that he also like cursed up a storm, I was just wondering, oh my god, can you say that on the internet? Can you actually say that? It's just, wow, this is insane. But you know, I was just captivated, and he was one of my favorite YouTube channels from 2007 to 2009, and I look forward to pretty much anything the guy put out. And he was one of those, you know, he's one of the early remnants of this whole angry ranting reviewer movement. I mean, then again, I think he came slightly before the AVGN, or after. Point is, they came in around the same year. And I think the reason why Big Al is no longer relevant today and why he pretty much fell off is because back in the golden days of YouTube, the whole angry shtick was incredibly popular. While the AVGN was certainly not the first one to do it, he was the one that popularized it. He's the one that made it viable. And then, when it became incredibly popular, everybody started jumping on the bandwagon. Everybody started creating these fake angry personas in the hopes that they would become popular just like James. And a lot of them failed. A lot of them are no longer on YouTube. A lot of them are irrelevant because they were trying to chase that short-term trend. And I think that's just the way it was eventually going to go. Big Al certainly didn't fall off in terms of quality. The quality was always very consistent, but the audience taste changed. They don't want the whole angry shtick anymore. With the exception of the AVGN and Angry Joe, that whole angry shtick has essentially died out, and people don't want that anymore. They want something with a bit more nuance, something with a bit more meaning and depth. They don't want, you know, people that just angrily scream into their camera for like 10 to 15 minutes. Those days are pretty much over. But it is good to know that he is still on YouTube, still making videos, and still being awesome. I actually watched one of his rants before I started recording this to see if he still had it, and he's still got it. He's still very, very good at what he does. And without him, without Darkness the Curse, without rmake21, without Drinking with Bob, and several others who really set the stepping stone that set the template for other people to follow, the ranting community wouldn't be what it is today, and for that I thank him. He's the reason I make rants and why I see that as a viable thing, even today. So, I know most of you probably have never even heard of Big Al. Most of you are relatively new, but you know, a lot of ranters, at least in my opinion, I feel like owe their existence to Big Al, and many others. That's just how I personally feel about it, and I felt it was interesting to talk about one of my inspirations and talk about somebody who was very much a product of the time, who was a product of YouTube in its golden age, when you could broadcast yourself, when you could say and do pretty much whatever you wanted. And you know, it was back at a time when nobody really had an ego yet. It was back in a time when things were a lot simpler and there wasn't all this demonetization and social justice and feminism and just cancer and just all that nonsense that we have today. It was a far simpler time. It was a far happier time and just awesome. I will never forget the hours of entertainment he provided me, and the hours of entertainment I'm pretty sure he provided many others. So yeah, what else can I say? Big Al is just an awesome channel. He was an awesome channel back then, and he's still an awesome channel now. Yeah. Anyways, let's get into my final thoughts. I'm going to provide some quick updates on the 2018 slate for the Guide to Surviving the Internet by announcing 6 of the 12 episodes planned for 2018, starting in January 2018 with the History of Christian Sagas. As many of you know, I promised in my Who is Christian video that I was going to make a separate video on the history of Christian Sagas, and now the dream is finally reality, so please be excited. Following that, in February 2018 will be a video about Ryan Rhino Mills, and then in March 2018 will be a video on the almighty Smosh itself. Now, this is quite different. This is the first episode in the newly scripted incarnation of the series that will not be written by me. It will instead be written by my good friend and creative partner Brandon Nathaniel, so fingers crossed. And then in June 2018, and yeah, I'm skipping ahead, sue me, will be an episode on Butch Hartman, the creator of The Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom, Tough Puppy, and Bunsen is a Beast. For those of you who don't know, he is very active on social media and has a YouTube channel of his own. And no, I am not kidding about that. If you don't believe me, just look it up. It will be a profile piece examining why he's so popular. And then in September 2018, I will be doing a video on Jake Paul, because why not? So for all you Jake Paulers out there, make sure to, dab on the haters. And then finally, in November 2018, it will be a video about Randy Stair, aka Andrew Plays. Now this episode was suggested to me by Nickzilla0825, and I am warning you right now, it is going to be the darkest episode in the series yet. It is not going to be happy, funny, cheerful, or lighthearted. It is going to be very sad, dark, and depressing, so make sure to get your Embers Ghost Squad ready, because it is going to be quite a rabbit hole we're going to be digging into. Yeah, so that's just a taste of what you can expect from the Guide to Surviving the Internet in 2018, so make sure to look out for the full slate announcement that will be out before the end of the year. So with all that being said, this is ThatKidDouglas, aka The Unhero, signing out. Deuces, stay frosty and keep it weird. Cue an outro sequence now.